Progress. We are good to go. So I'm going to go over that process. Douglas is only up. Doug is on. I know there was a specific request for him. Who else do we have on here that may? Yeah, okay. There's a few others that may require and folks should get benefit from this as well. So basically, first thing you need to do is install it. So to install it, Douglas, do you actually have it installed? If I could ask. You could drop
Yes.
it. You do. So it is installed. Okay, cool. So I'll go through that really quickly on the installation part of things. So on the installation, you'll go into the installation.community, or you'll get it in your email when you sign up. And all you really need to do is you need to drop it and save it in your MetaTrader 4 MQL 4 folder under MQL 4 and under experts. So this is the way to get there is simply by going to File and by going to Open Data Folder. This is all in the video that all of you have reviewed. So it shouldn't be much of a surprise at all how to actually install it. And then we've got to go through the actual settings. So I've got a few settings that you guys are behind, maybe just maybe. I would love to say today, but I don't think the fellas have enough time to just test the bug that they found and then me drop another release to you guys. I mean, to my inner circle, my testing group, and then you guys. So I'll ask if you have background noise, just mute yourselves. So basically, what I normally do is I have 4 charts set up. All right. So when running it on the lower time frame, most of you have seen me scalp. All right, so I'm running 4 time frames. You can do the same on the higher time frames if you like. It depends on your style, right? So when I'm on Zooms in the past, I've always scalped. Now I'm transitioning to these long holds. Right, 11300 is going to park right here. So now what I do is I'm transitioning to these, 2 or 3 trades a day, making exactly what I would make scalping, or hopefully even more. I'm trying to transition, and I would ask that you guys take that journey too, because I think if you're having trouble with the scalping and you're not consistent and you're not funded, showing month to month profitable months. Maybe that style is for you and you just have to tweak it. Maybe it's just your psychology. So no matter what strategy you use, there's going to be a psychological aspect of things. Or maybe you should try trading less and then going into these higher time frames. For me, it's attractive. For me, the only reason why I prefer it is because it's going to get me out of this office by 2023. I'm not going to be in this office the way I was in 2022 with the constant, being in this room to earn. I'll be, by the time the market opens in the morning, I will probably have been done. So, but that's another topic. We're going to get onto that in a minute, but we'll talk about actual setup. So I'm always running 4 charts, right? I'm running 4 charts. I'm running the 1 minute, the 5 minutes, the 15, the 30, right? And sometimes the 1 hour, but we'll start with this setup. All right, so let me clear all this stuff out. Okay, cool, that's my zigzag. Let me just clear all these things out. I want to start with all raw charts. So I'm going to just remove these and remove all objects. Right, and then I'm going to start to load it up. All raw charts. This I'll keep here, just like this. We'll start with the 1 and the 5. So what I do is for the 1 hour chart, for the 1 minute chart, I always go up a time frame for my zones. Okay. In this version, what the version you guys have is a little different because you guys just have one way of dropping zones. Okay. For me, I have a different version that you guys are going to get in the next day or two, after the fellas tested, Anthony and Austin tested quickly because they found a bug. I gave them an early release on something we were just running through real quick. They happened to get it and they found a bug quickly. So I've made the change. I just got to give it back to them. But the new version, we're going to have 2 different zones. Where is it? Oh, this is the wrong one. All right, so we'll go through this. So let's go here. You go to your navigation window, you find the indicator or the expert advisor. This is it here. So I click, I open it. Actually, I should give you guys, let me open up the actual one you guys have. Okay, so I drop it on the chart. And the first thing I need to do is you need to load, everyone knows this, you need to load your Telegram ID in this indicator. The Telegram ID is right here under Telegram ID. So once you put that in there, you save your settings, okay? You save your settings so that you can recall it. So I'm not gonna go through that. I can load my settings because I've saved it before. So I have a 1 minute, LB minute 1. I can click this, it'll populate everything for me quickly so I don't have to remember my Telegram ID, reload it, copy, paste, and all that stuff. All I have to do is load the settings that I want to load into this EA based on the time frame that I'm working on. So we'll go through this top down. So this here is a little bit more complex. We'll get back to this. This is for certain people that are having issues with their lot sizing or their partialing buttons and so forth. So we'll start with zones. So for every single chart, I'm going up 1 time frame, right? So I'm going to write this down. So we normally have, this is normally my setup, normally, right? Chart setup, right? And that's going to be, it's going to look clear when I drop it right now, the white background with the yellow. But it'll be on black. So chart setup, I'm loading a M1, M5, M15, M30, right? But what I'm doing also, I'm loading an M1 with M5 zones, minute 5 zones, M5 with M15 zones, M15 with M30 zones, and M30 with H1 zones, right? So that's what I'm setting up. This is how, these are the charts that I'm setting up. So I'm running a minute 1 chart with a higher time frame zone on it because they're more significant. Okay, so since they're more significant, it should, they're gonna be more relevant and more important when you're trading. I'll show you this version and then I'm gonna show you the one that you're gonna be getting very, very soon, which is going to be way better and cleaner than what we have here. So for the minute 1, because I'm on the minute 1, first thing I'm doing is I'm changing this to a minute 5 zone, right? I'm dropping a 5-minute zone, right? And I'm setting, here's where you could set the minimum height and the distance between. So you can say, hey, if you have a lot of zones, sometimes you're gonna get a lot of zones. And what you'll do is you'll say, I just need, I want to filter out some zones. So these are some filtering features that allow you to filter out zones. But I'm going to go with the default of 0, right? And then we'll start with that alone. So I'm going to start with just zones and we'll come back to this section here. So I click on zones. And basically what will happen is, since I'm on the minute 1, many people will say, well, I don't see the zones. Where are the zones? Well, in this version, you have to click on the minute 5 because it's going to activate minute 5 zones. It's set for 5-minute zones. So you have to change the chart to the 5-minute chart. Once you do that, it'll draw these zones out and then you can back down to your minute 1 or your minute 5 or whatever it is, and you'll get these zones. Now, what happens is these zones, there could be a lot of zones here. So what we want to do is we want to work with those filtering features quickly, right? So we want to be able to work with these filtering features. So here I'll say, you know what, on the minute one, there's a lot of these little small zones. I want to get rid of that. So I'm going to say minimum zone size is going to be 5 pips in height, or 5, yeah, minimum height 5 pips. I'm going to say distance between zones, I'll go with, say, 100 pips, 100 pips between zones. I click OK. And what'll happen is it will filter this out, unless all of these were too high. Let's go with minimum height 10. 5. No, you know what? I'm sorry. I'm now on the M5. So I'm going on the M5. It'll redraw the zones. So now you see these zones are a lot clearer. For those of you who have done top-down analysis, you know that you've got to start at your higher time frame and you work your way back. So it all depends on how the chart looks and how clean it looks. If you could start to filter and see that it's respecting zone areas, then you know that you pretty much have it on point for to be used, right? So you can see it's respecting. So I'd be good with this. For me personally, I would be good with these zones because it looks like it's respecting it. The next version, I'm going to show you this other next version really quick. That's going to take away all the pain of setting up your zones, right? There's another field here called draw zones from bar. So if we were doing top-down analysis, we all know that if we were looking at this empty chart here and we said, and I said, hey, everyone draw your zones. Some people are going to draw their zones, you know, right here. Some people are going to draw their zones right here. You know, they're not going to go far back. They're just going to do this, right? They're just going to do this. They may have price above. They may have, you know, they're going to draw these zones, and that's it. So in reality, what they've done was they started at bar 81 bars back they went before starting the drawing of zones. So that is the trick. If everyone's going to have close but not quite the same type of zones. In this case, we don't get zones above because we're at a all-time, not an all-time high, but we're at a new high. So zones are way far back in history. So with that said, that's why we need to use the draw zones from bar. And I'm drawing zones from 25 bars back because we're in this dip, right? So price has done this to us. Price has shot up, right? In the past, months ago, and then price has come down. So we're here now, right? We're doing this right now, right? We're here. So to get, or better yet, we're even here. We'll just say we're here, right here. X marks the spot, right here, right? To get the zones, we have to go back. We can't just go back 5 bars, 8 bars, 81 bars, because on the 1 minute, that's only 81 minutes. We're not going to get zones drawn in this period. So we've got to go back. I'm going back 2,500 bars so that I can get the zones drawn from these areas back here, you know, from better areas, from this area in price. Hope you guys are following me there. If you're not, please ask the question. But does that make sense? Is that somewhat clear? You know, if you've ever drawn zones before, you should really get this, because you know you've got to go back further if you don't have zones to bounce off of. You got to find the zones or the time frame, the time in history, historical data, to draw your zones out in front of you. I hope that makes sense. If not, please ask the question. You can throw it in the chat or whatever, right? So when I zoom out, you can see I've got zones going way back. Okay, so this is my 1 minute chart with 5 minute zones. And I'm good with these settings, right? So now what I will do is I will also go now to my lightning bolt settings. This setting here is what's going to control some information regarding the lightning bolts and how they're printed and so forth, right? So we've got 2 modes. We've got aggressive and we've got conservative mode, okay? So for me to give you the difference or give you a good understanding, let me give you a little understanding on how the LB is built, okay? The LB is built using my favorite indicator, zigzag. I've always told people that, and people will laugh and say, what do you mean zigzag? Like, yeah, for me, it's zigzag because zigzag is going to, the first thing people do when they look at a zone or settings, the first thing they do is they say, okay, well, we're going to draw, you know, price is doing, you know, it's doing this, then it's doing this, and it's swinging back up, and they're putting this all on they're overlaying this on top of price, right? They're doing this stuff, okay? They're doing all this stuff, right? But if I were to take away the candles right now and just had these lines, this would be zigzag. Zigzag indicates and can clearly and quickly show you the swing highs, the swing lows. Without zigzag, there'd be no Fibonacci, because you've got to know what your swing high and your swing low is to calculate a Fibonacci retracement, right? So for me, my favorite is zigzag. So you can see here is the zigzags. The zigzags are playing out, and I'll throw two on here. One is red, and I'll make the other one white with a smaller setting, because I want to show you the difference between the aggressive and the conservative mode for zigzag. So I'll make this one, I don't know, white. I guess that'll stand out. I'll do like this aqua, I guess. Make it white. Right, boom. Right, and then you have the red. So if I were to zoom in on this, the way you can see that the zigzags are crossing each other. They're crossing each other. You can see it here. One is doing this. This zigzag is coming up, it's coming down, and then it's going back up. It's crossing a higher, or I'll say slower zigzag. So the way the LB is written with the zigzags is that it's using multiple zigzags. And what it does is, an aggressive mode looks more like this. When you have a swing high, it may look like this on one zigzag, like this red one here. You see this red one? It simply just goes straight up. Then there's a faster zigzag that I overlay on top of this slower one, and it does this, right? It does this. If you were to look at this and say, you know, if Bryant were on this call, this would then indicate a ABCD pattern, right? These are ABCDs, and there's logic behind ABCD trading, Elliott wave trading. So I'm using a bit of Elliott wave in my LB, and this would be a conservative LB, because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, even more, 5. The minimum I can have for a conservative mode LB are 5 crossovers of zigzags. So this would be 1, you know, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've got 7. Whereas an aggressive mode LB would look like this. We'd have that one swing, and all we need is just 1, 2, 3. This is more aggressive than the conservative ones. There's some individuals here. I know Anthony, he qualified his FTMO with just conservative LBs. So it filtered out a lot of the noise that you'll get, right? If you need to filter out. But we don't trade on just LBs alone. So for me, I run an aggressive because I know that I'm using other confluences to make the entry. So in this case, we are running in aggressive mode, okay? That's really all you need to do to set up this triangle color. I'm not going to put it all on this version. This would outline, just to show you, this would outline the LBs with a little white, little triangle, if you will, because that's letting you know there were some crossovers. And this is the name. This is why I called it lightning bolt, because literally, for me, in my crazy head, this here, oops, looks like a lightning bolt. So that's the only reason why I call it lightning bolt, is because it literally looks like a lightning bolt. Boom. So that's the LB strategy. So this is a part of how the lightning bolt is built. So you'll have to decide if you want to run conservative or aggressive mode. And we'll get to that in a moment, right? So now we have on the chart both lightning bolts and we have zones on the chart, right? So when I'm trading, that is a major part of my confluence. I must have a lightning bolt here, this lightning bolt. Don't worry about the sell right now, but a lightning bolt, and it must be rejecting an area of support or resistance. So it's LB, plus zone rejection. Looks horrible, right? That looks horrible. I'm just going to type it. So my strategy is my lightning bolt plus zone rejection. Okay. This is confluences for entry. Lightning bolts plus zone rejection. So this is what I'm looking for when I'm using the LB. I'm looking for this confluence. These are two confluences that are a must before I can make any entry. Okay, a third would be, are you trading with the trend? What is the overall trend? Is the day bullish or bearish? Right? If the day is bullish, then you should be trading in the direction of the trend. You should be going bullish. You should be taking buys, not sells. Right? So here, this one here, you may get this rejection and you may get tempted to take this entry, but I'm going to always ask why. Where's the LB? There is no LB. So since there's no LB, there's no entry. Okay, that's how you would trade this system. Okay, so this is only setting up the 1 minute chart. We're going to get to this and through this on the one, and then we're going to duplicate this on other timeframes. Right, so as I'm building this up, keep in mind, as I'm building up my settings, I'm always saving my set. Right, I'm gonna call this LB M5. I'm sorry, M1. I'll even put US 30 or NAS 100. That's my new baby, NAS 100. And I'll just call this V20 because this is my version 20 software. I save it. So now, if ever I need to recall this quickly, all I got to do is load the EA, click on load, find my setting, if I could save it, if I could find it, and then that's it. Let's see, yeah, LB M1 NAS 100 version 20. I load that, and all my settings are there with my Telegram ID. Everything is there. There's nothing for me to worry about. So that is going to be a major, it's a must. If you're trading LB, I'm going to tell you LB plus zone rejection always. If you show me a signal that looks like this, if you show me an entry and you say, hey, you know what, I took the trade and it didn't go, it didn't work, and you show me this, and you said, I took this trade, say it turned around against you. In this case, it worked, but say it turned around and it went against you, say it did this way and then it pushed up, and you're like, oh man, it didn't work. Well, let's understand why. One, what was your confluence? I'm going to always ask that. What was your confluence for your entry? If it's not LB plus zone, right? There's no conversation, nothing to discuss, because we know that we have to have multiple confluences. Confluences are building the case. It's building your case for why you should make entry or why you should stay out of the trade. So keep that in mind. That is going to be super key. You need to have LB plus zone initially to start, right? Then, now this is for entry. We'll talk about exits in a moment, but let's go through the entry process. What time is it? 12:45. Okay. So now we'll talk about simple moving, your other indicators that we have on this in this EA, right? So here in this EA, the next section is Fibonacci. And here's where you could draw Fibonacci settings. And here you'll set a zone, you'll keep it to your default, right? And what it will do is, it will, with the base settings, what it will do is it will draw fibs on your screen automatically, right? So you'll see here, this was a fib, right? Here's telling you, hey, it's a fib retracement, right? And it's here. The fib retracement is this fib sell line, right? So basically what it's done was the system has calculated the swing low. If you're familiar with Fibonacci, the swing low to the fib to the swing high, and it says, hey, this area is within the fib swing high and swing low zones that you defined in the EA between the 236 and 764. That's a wide range, right? Everyone knows fibs, that's a wide range, but that's okay. This is just the overall range. And then I break it down and I can say, okay, we're in the golden zone. We're in the 50 to 618. And then I will plot lines at those levels for you to enter. Now I'm not plotting all fibs. If you wonder, take a look at this one here. This is a fib. I'll take this fib tool from this swing low to swing high. This is a fib, and it's right in the fib zone. It's right in the fib golden zone, the 50 to 618. Why isn't there a fib? Why isn't there a fib? The reason why, I don't plot all fibs. I only plot fibs where there's an LB. That's it. I only plot fibs where there's a lightning bolt, right? So if we can now line up that entry, we can line up a fib. Let me zoom in. If we can line up a fib with a lightning bolt, which by default, they will always have a lightning bolt because this was the swing high to low and retracement. It gave you a lightning bolt. And if we can say there's a fib retracement with a LB rejecting a zone, we take that trade. We take that trade. We take that entry. You don't have to wait for the buy or the sell. You just have to wait for the LB. In fact, many times I've debated removing the buy and the sell. I know some individuals, they like it, but I won't, so that's the reason why I'm leaving it. Maybe I'll change the wording. But because the buy and the sell, sometimes what'll happen is when you get into that sell, it's going to retrace on you a little bit because it's a crossover of a moving average, right? It's a crossover of moving average. And everyone that knows my style of trading, when I'm scalping, I'm going to have to be real specific with the style because I'm transitioning. I'm doing a lot. So with the LB strategy, I'm heavy on zones. I'm heavy on moving averages, right? Moving averages are important because moving averages, when I'm scalping and I'm on these lower time frames, moving averages I'll load up some moving averages, right? So I'll load up my favorite ones, right? The ones that I use. So that's going to be the 20, right? 20, right? Simple. This is the average moving averages that you'll need to load. The 20, I keep it red, right? And that's way too wide, but I'll make this here like this. So 20, I'll load up another one. The 50, I think the 50 was, what is it, green? I forget, simple, 20, 50 is green, right? Then we have the 100, right? I'll make this one white, right? And then we have the 200, right? And I'll make this one blue, okay? So these, no, I won't keep blue because blue is not, it's going to be hard to find. So I'm going to make this like a neon, something, another, here we go, neon or whatever. So now this is how I run my charts completely with these SMAs, okay? Because when I'm scalping, when I'm on a 1 minute chart and I'm scalping, and you don't have to be on the 1 minute, you can be on the 5 minute. 5 minute is solid for major long, long day trade entries in the morning, major entries. But when I'm scalping, the next question is, okay, we know how to make entry. Well, where are you making your exits? Well, the way I make my exits when I'm scalping is as it's approaching and touching a moving average. Anything on this chart here now, when you look at this chart, is an area where price is going to react. We expect price is going to react. So if price is coming up, right? If price is coming up here, price is coming up, it's moving up. Right, it's moving up. We know that once price gets here, I'm expecting a reaction. And that reaction, I don't know if that's just a pullback, a slight pullback to continue, or if this is going to just reverse on me. So because of that, I'm taking partials when I'm touching a zone, when I'm approaching a zone, and when I'm approaching a moving average, right? So I'm taking it, and I'll show you this, I'm taking it control, what is it? Control F. Control F, yeah. I'm taking it, let me find a good example here. Right, so let's find a good example. Yeah, I get in this LB, right? I'm taking my first scalp. If I get in early, say this is not the best setup, even this one's good. I'm getting in here. I'm getting in. Obviously, I'm not going to be taking my partial, 8 pips away, 5 pips away, right? I'm not going to do that. I'm taking my partial. As it's approaching the simple moving average, I'm clicking the take partial buy immediately. I'm clicking it immediately, right? So, but if you're using the automation aspect of this EA, then it's going to draw long lines at these zones and you don't really care. It doesn't even matter. You don't have to do anything. It's going to draw targets automatically at those levels. And as price touches those levels, it's going to automatically take partial. We'll get to that quickly. So for me, when I'm looking at the 1 minute, the 5 minute, the 15, the 30, and of those time frames, there's not enough stability in price action for me to say my entry was here if I'm just looking at that chart, and it's going to go from A to B. You can do that on the higher time frames, but on the lower, you cannot. So since I don't know that, I'm taking a partial along the way. I'm partialing down my position along the way, 50% along the way. That's why when I'm posting up, when I am scalping, you're seeing me $200, $50, $75, $80, $150, 300, 500, but I'm getting sometimes $35. And at the end of the day, I'm posting up $3,500, $4,000. Every day I'm scalping. $1,500 every day I'm scalping, and it's because I'm taking partials quickly along the way. Okay, so that is how I take those partials. Let's throw up, and I'm going to skip this. I'm going to go because we'll get back. This is a one chart setup, but I want to go and I want to show you guys the automation while the market's still open. Right, we got 7 minutes, right? So yeah, if I go here, right, say I took a sell, right? If I said F7. I'm going to go to my automation settings, right? Yeah, automation. I can set my moving average targets. This says SMA targets, right? So I can say enable moving targets. I can say yes. Target type, simple moving average. What are my simple moving averages? I can put this in a list with commas between 20, 50, 100, 200. And then when I'm in a trade, it will automatically plot those for me if I wanted to. So if I got into a small trade, I'm going to change this to like a 0.02, 0.01, right? I'm going to click sell, right? The minute I'm in automated trading, I don't want to click that on because this is a part of the EA month. This one is safe. So when I click manage manual, it automatically draws these targets for you. You see those yellow lines? It automatically draws them at the moving averages that you targeted, right? So now when price comes and touches this, it's going to partial it. Well, how much is it going to partial it? Well, we have a setting for that in the EA under automation where it says partial percent, 50%. 0.5 is 50%. 1 is 100%. 0.5 is 50%. We're partialing 50% of all positions. You have an options here where positions never partialed or most recent order, but let's start with just all positions, right? If you wanted to override that setting, all you want to do is you may want to just say, you know what, at this level, you're going to click it. You're going to say at this level, I want to change it to from 50 to 0.75%. I click enter. And now if I were to go back in here, this says 75% of the position will be taken, where this position says only 50% of the position taken. Right? So this is how you can manage your auto entries, your auto take partials, just by using these settings here. So it'll automatically take partial for you at these levels. And when you click this, if you were to click this and you see these ticket numbers, this is a list of ticket numbers that are associated to that line. So these two red ones are pending orders that I have. But if I were to go in here and create another order, another sell, click manage manual, and I do this, both of them are now attached to this line. If I wanted to remove one, and you say, well, why would you want to remove a ticket? Say early morning, London, I was in a trade, price pushed up already. And I just want this to run. I don't want to touch it. I don't want it to interfere. I don't want to interfere with it. I want that to be my runner that I'm going to hold for the rest of the day into tomorrow and so forth. Well, I may want to then disassociate it from the target. So here you'll see the ticket is associated, whereas here you'll see the ticket is not associated. So when it touches this line, it's only going to partial the lines that are in green. If I wanted to associate it again, I just click the button. I just click it, it turns green. I close it, I can verify that the setting took, and you can see it's green, and that means now that ticket number is associated to this take partial line. That's how you manage it. If I wanted to protect this position, I just simply click on the protect button. You see here, this is a green line. I can click protect, and now actually it didn't take it because I'm too close to my entry, right? So there's a setting here that says I only want to, where is it? Minimum target in pips, 8. No, that's not the setting, there's 2. Price offset in pips, exit price offset in pips is 4. So I've got to at least be 4 pips in profit for price for the stop loss to be moved to. So if I were to protect this, you would see, mute. I just muted you. If you need to, just unmute if you have a question. So if I were to manually move this to break even, it would look like this. But because I have a setting of 4 pips, then it would look like this, right? But because I don't have enough space between current price and my open price, I can't bring stops to break even yet. But if you click protect, it's going to automatically protect your position and move it to break even. Does that make sense, everyone? Let me get a yes. Let me get something, or
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. So now it's moving. Let's see. I can do. Well, I'm already protected. That's why. But now the price is moving. Once it touches this, it should partial out. These are only 0.1, so it won't partial out. It'll close the position, obviously, because I can't partial below the position that I have. Right. So that's how you manage it. If you wanted to have a trailing stop, right? The system knows you're in a. If the system knows that, hey, you're in a sell. So if I hold my shift key and press click, I can drop as many targets as I want on the screen. If I shift click behind price, that's going to be a stop loss. And let me show you. It says here, can I zoom out? I guess I could zoom out. Let's do this differently. Well, here, these lines say, if you zoom in, these lines say take partials. This is a simple moving average of 20, the SMA 20 take partial line. Here, behind price, let me move it here, it says reduce risk. So this will reduce risk. If price comes back and touches this line, it's going to reduce it by 50%, and it's going to reduce all these tickets by 50% automatically. So that's where a lot of the power is within the EA, is that if you aren't fast enough to, go into your order, create a TP, create an SL, and so forth, you can just use these features and it'll automatically run for you. So we have the take partial would take a partial. If I click take partial, it'll take partial of all my positions. If I click protect, it'll protect all of my positions. That's on this chart only this chart. So if you were running an entry on the 1 hour and you were running an entry on the 5 minute, the 1 hour may have different goals than your 5 minute when you're getting complex with the trading. Then when I click take partial, I'm only partialing tickets that were created on this chart on the 5 minute, not the 1 hour. So that's how you configure and trade the LB. So for this setup, you would then go in and you would repeat the process for every one of these charts that you have. Right? So I'm going to fast forward this. I'm going to right click this. I'm going to say template, and I'm going to save this template. Right? And when I save this template, I'm going to name this, we'll call this LB training. We'll say LB training. Right? And this is going to be M5, minute 5, M5. I'm sorry, M1. We're on the M1 chart. I click save. Right? Now I go to my M5 chart. This really is a drop down, so I can drop this down here. I could go to my M1 chart here, and all I have to do is click on right click the chart, template, and I can load my template, LB M1 training. And you're gonna say, well, wait a minute, this is M1 zones, these are M5 zones. Since I'm on M5, I need to change it. So you change it from M5 to M15. That's all you need to do. Change it to the 15-minute chart. Right? Now you click on the 15-minute chart, so it could redraw your zones, and now you could drop back to your 5, and you're good to go. And now I can save this template as, let's find it. I can save this now as and just click this so I can load up here, and I can just change this here to say M5. Click save. So now, for quick recall, all I have to do is just right-click, load my M5 set it template, go to my 15, right-click, load my M5 template, my M15 template, and so forth and so on. And then when I'm trading it, my charts look like this. I have it as quadrants. I have it looking like this: the 1, the 5, the 15, the 30, and I'm looking at it. And if I get a trigger on the 1, I can make entries. On the 5, I make entries, because there's the reason why I'm running multiple is because if you're running off one chart on one time frame, you're not going to get the alerts and the signals for the other time frames. So you have to have them loaded up. And once it loads up, it'll alert you, and then you can make a decision, and you can take a closer look and say, I'm down here. Is this rejecting zone? Oh, wow, this is rejecting zone. This is looking good. Let me make entry. The new version, you can see these colored bars. What I'm doing here is I'm looking at candles, and I'm color coding them to let you know this is a high a probability bullish or bearish candle combination. So in the new version, you're going to get that. That's what you'll get. In the new version, also, you'll get it where you can trade with the trend only, where you can say, you can go into your LB settings here, and you can say trade with the trends. Under your LB, there's a trade with the trends. And what it'll do is it will only show you the LBs that are with the trend. So you're not going to get the sells. So if you like to reverse trade, you're not going to get it. It doesn't mean reverse trade doesn't mean you're opposite of the trend, right? Because you can get reversals like this. We're in an uptrend, right? We're doing this, right? Here, this is a reversal point from here to here. It's a pivot, but it is with the trend. So you're hoping to get that LV so you can continue it up. Taking the sell down against a bullish trend is clearly going against the trend. And that's where you have to really, really be careful and know where you're at in the market. And know, well, maybe on my higher time frame, my 30-minute, we're approaching a 30-minute zone, right? That is important, and price has never pushed through there yet, because this is going to be a double tap. So we can expect that there may be a reversal. But then we say, okay, well, let's wait on the 1 and the 5, and let's see if we get a reversal LB, an LB to sell. And then there's when you start to build your confluence, and you say, okay, it's rejecting on, we're at the same zone on the 5-minute zone, on the 1-minute zone, and the 1 hour. This is a heavy zone, important. It is rejecting, and we got an LB. Then that's when you start to build your case to sell your position, sell into position. That, right? So then, and you save it along the way, and you have each chart built up, year 1, year 5, year 15, year 30. If you are if you don't like the 1 too fast, 5, 15, 30, 1 hour. You can put up as many as you want, where you feel most comfortable, right? Let me show you the new way of doing zones, okay? The new way of doing zones, let me just remove this expert. The new way of doing zones is going to be, everyone's going to love this. Actually, definitely can't, I can't say that enough. Let's go here. So if I go and I load up the new LB. Oh, and I forgot to show you guys this real quick. What time is it? Okay, 1:05, I still have time. Here. If you wanted to trade fib as targets, right? Say I was in a sell, right? Let's go into a sell, right? And I wanted to say, I don't want to use simple moving averages. I want to use fibs, right? What you could do is you can configure your fib. If you drew your fib out at any point in the past, here, you draw your fib out, you can double click it, right click it, go into fib properties, and you can see these settings here. These are your settings that you would set up on your fib, right? This is all built into MetaTrader 5, and these are the lines that you have configured. If you wanted to, you could have the algo automatically target these fib settings. So all I have to do is go from here. Oh, did I load the EA? No, I didn't. Let's load the EA. Template M1. Boom. Template M1. We're here. We're in it, right? So I will talk about these vertical lines also, because that's RSI divergence. We can talk about that. So now I've got these buttons, right? If you wanted to, just quick thing, if you wanted to move these buttons, press Shift U or capital U. Or is it, oh, capital U. These will turn red, and then you can move these. You can move these around whichever way you want to. All right, I'll just move this here for now. All right, Shift U again, it locks it in place, and you can use these buttons. But say I wanted to now, this was a big swing high, and I wanted to now target fibs. I could draw fibs on the screen like this, right? And when I click, take a look at those buttons. When I click these fibs, you can see these buttons are down here. These are all separate menus. This is saying add fib take partials, add fib stop losses. So now I can just click this, and it's given me all fib targets automatically. I can remove the fib object, and now these yellow lines are actually fib targets. It says fib 236 take partial, fib 382, fib 50%, 618, and it'll take partial using fibs on its way down. So for those that like the fibs, that's the way you could play that as well. Let's see here. So what I wanted to show you was, oh yeah, the new indicator, the new EA. That's F7. Oh no, that's expert. Let's remove. All right, and let's just go into, I'll remove all these objects. And let's go to the new version. Here, if I load my settings, right, you've got two zones. No, this isn't the version. Oh yeah, it is. What am I doing wrong? Am I not seeing it? Oh yeah, this is it. Two zones. So these zones you could draw as standard, which is what you guys have now, standard zones, which means it's drawing on every zigzag, swing high and swing low. Or you could go with engulfing. And once you use the engulfing, you never go back. You're going to use the engulfing. And what that's going to do is that's going to only draw zones based off of engulfing candles at those swing highs and swing lows. So if it looks like this, right? Right? Say it looks like this. You're going to only get engulfings where candles are engulfed. Engulfed. And these zones are highly probable. These are areas, because actually engulfing zones, as I'm doing more and more research on it, it is actually areas where price needs to return and get mitigated. They're highly targeted zones because smart money, they want money, they have to go back there to close positions, to revisit these positions. Price has to come back down to these levels before it could push back up. It has to close positions at this level before it can push back up. Otherwise, it's going to be pulling these, say, these sells that it took, it's going to be pulling those in more drawdown. So they have to close them out along the way. That's a smart money concept, and that's something that, you know, we'll see more and more. But when you run this, let me get this EA back on here, and I'll show you right here. So here, you're going to have multiple zones. You have engulfing and you have engulfing, right? So one is a 1 hour engulfing, and the other is let's do 5 and 15. So we have 5-minute zones or 15-minute zones as my primary zone, and then we have 5-minute zones as my secondary, right? And what it'll look like, you got to get your eyes used to seeing it, but what it'll look like is this. The blue zones are the higher time frame zones, right? That's the higher time frame zones. And the red, the outlined reds, are the lower time frame zones. These zones, you can see, are going to be way more respected. And the areas where you should expect reaction is when you're seeing a high time frame zone and a low time frame zone together. When they're overlapped, or prices, you know, prices coming up and it's breaking and rejecting two zones, a major and a minor, that's good money. That's going to increase your probabilities for a good successful trade, a winning trade. So when you run these engulfings, it's so much easier. You don't have to dibble and dabble with the settings for zones. It's really by default, it's going to be pretty solid. And this is the 5. If we do this, it's going to be pretty solid. Let's see. Let's see here. Let's go here. What are my settings? You know, this thing sometimes. Oh, here we go. Yeah. So it's going to be it's way better, faster, especially on higher time frames. I could change this to, and what happens is you don't have to change to the time frame for it to draw. It's going to draw it on any time frame. So I could be on the 1 minute and draw an hour and a 15 minute without having to change time frames. This will be 1 hour, and this will be 1 hour, and this one will be. Oh, I'm on the wrong chart here. This one. Yeah, this is what it looks like right here. 15, the 5. It just looks so much, to me, it looks so much better. And I could change this quickly to the 1 hour and 5 minute. All right. And we'll let that redraw. And then I could go back up. I'll be trading the 1 hour and the 5 on a 1 hour. So once you do that, these zones are going to look a lot better. A lot better. You can see the rejection areas. Rejection here, pushed up, rejected, pushed up. It stalled out here, came up in this zone area, rejected. Came down here, rejected. Pushed down, rejected. Okay, pushed up, came back to that same zone area, rejected. 2 zones, a major and a minor zone, rejected. Those are solid. So you're going to see this. Once you get this, it's going to just be so much more easier for you to, let's put this on the 15, for you to maneuver the LB strategy. This zone area, you know, it's clear. It's literally, this is the zone area. Rejection, came down, rejected, rejected here. So it's just going to be that much more easier for you to manage the zones. So we went through LB, we went through zones, we went through the fibs. Let's throw up RSI divergence. You guys have an RSI divergent indicator all the way up until I think January, right? And I'll renew the license again at that point. But that indicator is serious, but this is a little mini version of it. This is like the version 1 of it, where you're going to get a vertical line. You're going to get a blue line or a red line, and that's going to indicate if you are having bearish or bullish divergence. So the blue means bearish, green means bullish. So when you get this line, it's telling you that you are divergent, meaning you're making higher highs where RSI is making lower lows. So let me throw on the RSI indicator. Let's see, RSI. Give me 1 second, everyone. Just hold with me for 1 second. And just get this door. Give me 1 second, I'm sorry. Don't go anywhere. Okay. So if I were to throw on the RSI divergence indicator, RSI indicator, standard RSI, standard, right? Then if I were to refresh this EA, let's see here, EA, let's just change this to something so that I'll just do 1500 bars back, just something fresh so it can reload it. We let that load. So what it's showing you here with the RSI indicator, if you've studied divergence, then you know that divergence is when the market looks like it's pushing up, where RSI is showing that it's pushing down. So we're making higher highs here, where RSI is showing you right here, you're making lower lows, right? So that is a divergence for a reversal. And you can see price push down, and the same thing here. We're making slightly from this point here to here, slightly higher highs, and we're making also higher highs here, which is still divergent, but it's, I'm sorry, I take that back. Let me go back here. I didn't see it. It's actually, this is actually angled lower, so it's going down. Lower low, higher high, and it triggers lower low here, lower low, higher high on the RSI, and it triggers the buy. So if you could pair the RSI divergence with a lightning bolt plus zigzag, I'm sorry, plus zone rejection, you're getting these moves. You're gonna get these moves. Okay, so you don't have to live on the 1 and the 5, and you can stay on the 15 and take those setups. Those setups are just as good, if not better, to be quite honest. The 1 minute's going to move fast for people, and you really need to know how to scalp and just be able to move fast. So this should be very, very helpful. This is like the overall review of all the settings. Let's see here. So we went through the Fibonacci. Let's see here. We went through the automation settings, meaning your risk percent. Yeah, here's your risk percent also. If you want to, this is different on this version, but you're setting your risk percent. No, you're not setting your risk percent actually. That's not even there. So don't even worry about that. That's not even there. That's for the automation. That's for the EA. Right? You have your opposite LB action could be, you can set it for close all. The version you have is either close all or like no action, right? Or take partial. And what that'll do is, if you were in a buy, say you were in a, say you were in this buy here, right? You were in this buy, and the minute you get a new LB, what it'll do is, if you have that set for close all positions, it's going to close all your buys and then open up your set, right? And then it'll close out all your buys, and that's it. Or it'll just take a partial, 50% partial when it encounters an opposite lightning bolt. Let's see here. What do we have here? When do we get it? Can't wait. Yeah. So Jack, as I mentioned, Austin, Anthony they found a bug. They had gotten a quick version of it when we were trying to just go through something real quick. I sent them something. They found a bug in it. I fixed it. I got to get back to them. Once I get back to them, it'll go to the inner circle, the test group, for a quick review, and then it's going to be out to you guys. So hopefully, you guys should get it hopefully early next week. I could drop it to these guys today. They'll probably look at it maybe over the weekend for with crypto, with Ethereum or something, to see that it's working and doing the right thing. And that's it. Basically what it was doing, just so you're aware, what it was doing is this logic. When I have the EA running on, let's see here, where is it? Which version is this? Oh, I already disabled it. That's why. Okay. So the version that you saw where you had the colored candles, that particular version will open and close positions based on that. And what was happening is it was closing and opening their positions, and they shouldn't have any automatic trade management with the high probability reversal candle combination. So I had to disable that, and then they'll be good to go. So now we're not even getting these painted, which is great. So yeah, it's just a matter of me just literally dropping it to them. And once I do that, they'll test and you'll have it. That is it. Is there any other questions? What I'm going to be doing, if there is, please ask. What I'm going to be doing is, everyone knows me as the scalper. I'm transitioning. Like I said, I want to be able to be a long-term trader, a full day trade where come morning time, trading is an option, right? Or scalping is always going to be an option. So I'll continue to scalp for those that want to scalp, but I really recommend you guys start moving to the higher time frame trading, especially if you live a busy life or the scalping is too fast for you. The LBs in the 5 and the 50 may be good enough for you. They may be absolutely good enough for you. The 15, the 5, 30 minute, and the 1 hour, they're going to be solid. But if you're, say, living in that scalping world, having difficulty on that 1 minute, not finding your consistency, then I would invite you guys to definitely look at these higher time frame setups. And with that, we're just looking at the weekly, the open high low close, or the open low high close for the weekly and the daily, and we draw lines out at those levels. And then after that, that's all we do, is we just target those areas and those areas alone. And that is very probable. We're not making trades in the middle of the candle. We're literally just making trades when price touches those areas. If price doesn't touch those areas, we're not making that trade. And it's keeping you out of the noise. It's forcing you to make proper entry at proper levels without, the constant scalping. Once you get to those levels, the weekly and the daily, you can scalp it. You can scalp it in the direction where that it's supposed to go. You can scalp it if you want, and start there with the scalp down. If it's a downtrend, start there with the scalp down. But getting in the middle, it becomes a little hairy. It could become a little hairy for individuals that have trouble with reading where they are in the market day at that moment. But that's it. That's all I have. And I'm hoping that was a good refresher for some. I will drop the link once this records. I will download it, upload it to YouTube, drop the link, and then everyone that's not on it, because there are a few other new individuals that are not on it that can review. And I hope this answers some questions. Doug, I know this was specifically for you for sure, and then everyone else joined, and there's a few other new individuals that came. I'm hoping this has answered a lot of your questions. And if you're along the way running things and you're coming into issues, by all means, drop it in the community. Myself will answer it. If not, sometimes, many times, the community will beat me to it.
Cool. Sounds good.
Yep. And there you have it. That's pretty much the gist of it. And remember, count your confluences. If you take this sell, I'm gonna ask, why the hell did you take this sell? Where's the zone? So if your zones aren't drawing out here and you're not rejecting a zone, then I need to see some other confluence that you've seen, right, to make that entry. Maybe it's a moving average that comes up, and it's kind of like right here, and it was a touch of a very high relevant moving average and it's rejecting. But you need to have more than one. LB plus something, LB plus zone, LB plus simple moving average rejection. Yeah, this is great. This is a no LB, but when price came here and started to reject, it's rejecting a zone and two simple moving averages. I think that's pretty good confluence. So that's it.
Hey, Squawk, I got a quick question on the zigzag setup. The 532, is that the standard that you go with on the
Yeah, well, no, what I do is the standard is 532 is my fast moving one. The standard is I think 1253 or something. Let me see here.
Well, what do you recommend on?
For what is it that you're trying to do with it?
Well, I don't know that much about zigzag. You get two lines. Do you put different inputs on each one?
Yep, different inputs on each one. But you don't necessarily need to mix that with this. Do you want to mix the zigzags with this?
I don't know. I just would like for my screen to look like yours sometimes, and I haven't got that.
Yeah.
But that can be. We can talk about that later.
Yeah, but your settings are, and I did drop it in the group. It's going to be 1253, and it's going to be 532.
And say again, 532 and 1253.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So, but when I'm just for clarity for everyone, and the reason why I didn't mean to pry so much, but I don't want to make it too noisy. We've got support, we've got resistance, we've got LBs, we've got simple moving averages. For this strategy, that's enough. When I'm talking zigzag using the other strategies and the zigzag, I always indicate it as the zigzag strategy where we get that snap and stuff. That I will showcase again also, and that's a different kind of strategy that you can use really and trade that with raw just zigzags. You really don't even need to see.
You are just showing it because it's how the LBs populate or work is on the zigzag theory.
That's correct.
Not necessarily that we have to have it on our screen.
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's correct.
All right.
Yeah. So there you have it, everyone, and thank you much. And I hope everyone got some value out of this little refresher. And then I'll catch you guys Monday morning. I'll be dropping charts Saturday. So the way the structure is going to be for the higher time frame entries, I'm going to drop my charts the way I have been. Hopefully you guys are clicking on the links, looking at the analysis, trying to understand it. If you don't understand it, please ask, because then I'm looking for those setups, and those setups may or may not be during New York. They may be London. They may be, you know, New York open, or an hour before you get in and that's it, right? So scalping mentality is you hop on a Zoom and you can make it work at any time. The higher time frame strategy is, well, you know what, you have high probability areas that you're focused on, and when price gets to those areas, it could be at any time, it could be on any session, except Asia, but any session, London, New York, and you want to start to make those entries. So I will, I'll be sharing all of that so that those that want to transition and get that under your belt also, you'll be good to go with learning how to make higher time frame trades. Hope that was helpful. My throat is dry. I need a drink. It's Friday. Everyone enjoy your weekends. Thanks for joining. And I will see you all for sure on Sunday with some charts being dropped, and then we'll take it into the morning, until Monday morning. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Squawk.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.